think that we can all agree that when it comes to Pokemon, there's no objective standard for what can be considered a good or bad character design. Yeah, I can sit here and yammer on about intent and shape language and negative space and all these funny technical terms to try to defend my own opinions about which Pokemon I like or don't like, but at the end of the day, there's always going to be at least one person whose favorite Pokemon is one that everyone else claims to be terrible. And who are we to say that they're wrong? Just keep this in mind later on in the video when I mercilessly bash Terrakion for being what I consider the ugliest Pokemon in existence. We're back, everyone. Welcome to Subjectively. Subjectively, yeah, things are about to get real subjective real quick. Some of you may not remember this, but the very first Subjectively video we ever made was just us relentlessly bashing Pokemon designs that we thought were terrible. We've tried to move away from that kind of content because who needs that negativity in this day and age, right? But I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that when Walking Wake and Iron Leaves came out, a part of my soul cringed as I was forced to remember the ugliest looking legendary trio that has ever blemished the otherwise flawless face of Pokemon. I'm sorry, that's too much. I'm being too mean, right? And look, I know that making Paradox forms for the legendary Beast trio, I knew that was gonna be a ton of fun. Past Paradox forms are, on the whole, much more creative, exciting, and cater to my particular sensibilities as an artist. Furthermore, I really like Entei, Raikou, and Suicune. On the other hand, not only do I find future Paradox forms dull and uninspired compared to the past ones, I also don't like the Swords of Justice quartet. Virizion is actually probably my favorite out of the bunch, but it already has a Paradox form. Ugh. And it changes almost nothing about the character's design. Now, my challenge is, do I stay consistent with the official Iron Leaves design and try not to change too much about the designs of Terrakion and Cobalion, or do I try to express a little artistic liberty and try to make these ugly Pokemon a little bit cooler? While I debate this point in my head, allow me to take a minute to thank our awesome Patreon supporters. A very special shout out to Rose and Angel S, our super subjectivist supporters. If you're interested in helping our channel stay running proud and strong, or if you're just interested in grabbing some exclusive original Subjectively merchandise, consider becoming a Patreon patron. Any amount helps, and we really appreciate it. This channel is our livelihood, and you guys make that possible. Thank you all so much. Alright, I've made a decision. We're going to start with the future Paradox forms in this video. It'll be a lesson in discipline. As a professional artist, it is inevitable that at some point in your career, you're going to have to work on a project that you don't like. It happens a lot, actually. So how can we take subject matter that doesn't excite us, i.e. Terrakion and Cobalion, and turn these things into pieces of artwork that we can be proud of? Let's save the worst for first, Terrakion. Why don't I like it? Well, it's mostly that uncanny human face stapled onto the body of some nondescript quadrupedal animal. It's like one of those medieval illustrations of fantastical beasts, only I can't say it's charming or fascinating in the same way as those manuscripts, because unlike the 14th century artists that made up those creatures, the people behind Terrakion had centuries of pre-existing artistic experience to inform their designs. Terrakion isn't supposed to feel like a terrifying abomination of human flesh, at least I don't think it is. But that's what I think when I look at it. It's horrifying. So what can I do in making this future Paradox version to change that? Well, I did want to stay consistent with the conventions established in Iron Leaves. The silhouette of the Pokemon remained relatively the same. Shapes, proportions, physical features, nothing much really changes between Virizion and its Paradox form, so I didn't have a ton of room to change things in regard to shape. However, readjusting the pose of Terrakion really helped me out a lot. That uncomfortable bottoms-up perspective only makes Terrakion feel more uncanny. Having it stand facing straight forward made it feel like a big, hulking beast rather than a man in a horse costume. Speaking of men, the other thing that needed to change was the face. It's partially the colors, partially the teeth, and partially the fact that it has the jaw and chin of an adult human. Anyway, all of that had to go. Making a character more mechanical in appearance inherently takes away from any semblance to humans. So I guess in that sense, making this a future Paradox form actually helped make Terrakion a lot more likable to me. The future Paradox forms do something with their designs that makes it hard for me, as a 2D illustrator, to really capture the essence of these characters. They take advantage of the 3D models and animations of the software in which they exist. You may not know this by looking at its key art, but Iron Leaves can extend those glowing blades on its neck when it attacks. A subtle detail that, can't really be appreciated in the 2D artwork. If Virizion is the delicate, precise blade of the Swords of Justice, Terrakion is the armor-piercing battle axe. I wanted its big horns to extend out in the same way that Iron Leaves does, and I also wanted to further exaggerate the sheer strength of the character by equipping it with jet turbines on its shoulders, implying that it could launch itself forward while it's attacking. For colors, I didn't change much. Future Paradox Pokemon tend to use strong accent colors against desaturated grays, browns, and blacks. I chose orange for this accent color, which contrasted nicely against the cool grays that I used for most of the body. I'll be honest, if this was an official design that was added to the game tomorrow, I don't know if I would be excited for it. However, I do think I did a good job retaining most of Terrakion's visual identity while changing the aspects of its design that I didn't like. Iron Bulwark, the Paradox Pokemon. A strange magazine describes a Pokemon made of steel and powered by electricity, able to propel itself forward with such force that it can level buildings with a single headbutt. Recent sightings around Area Zero seem to confirm the existence of such a Pokemon. What it was built for is yet unknown, though it is certainly man-made. One theory states that Iron Bulwark was designed to protect royalty. Alright, now on to Cobalion. Now, I definitely don't dislike Cobalion quite as much as I hate Terrakion. I appreciate how the anthropomorphic aspects of its design are a little more subtle than just a human head on an animal's body. However, it is still a really awkward looking design to me. The whole body is stiff. There's no movement in it whatsoever, which makes it really hard for it to animate in exciting, action-packed ways. And that's exactly what they make it do in the anime and in the game. I get that it's the stoic leader of the group, very dignified and proud, but it's a challenge for me to picture a creature like this leaping into action and swinging around a giant sword. To me, it looks like one of those two-person horse costumes. I think it's because of the front legs and how they bend the wrong way. However, the rigidity of its body did lend itself to a mechanical design. The tall collar around its neck reminded me of a smokestack, or some kind of giant cooling tower. This gave me the idea to replace the fur tuft on its chest with a rotating motor. I was already changing more about Cobalion's design than Iron Leaves did with Virizion, but I thought it was necessary. The rotating engine on the chest put the idea of electricity in my head, and suddenly the very unconsidered, non-specific shapes that are just thrown onto Cobalion's body had significance. The awkward, crumpled-looking horns became lightning bolts, and the spiky, fur on its shoulders could take on a similar shape. The tuft of fur, I think, on the tail, I don't know. I just kind of made it spikier. So much of Cobalion's design, it doesn't make any sense to me, and I couldn't bring myself to think too much about it. I had the most fun rendering colors with this design. The key artwork for future Paradox Pokemon does something that we've never seen before in official Pokemon artwork. It uses reflective light to inform texture. Usually, even if a Pokemon has a metallic surface to its body, the official artwork doesn't show that. It wasn't until the 8th generation where we started to see metallic texture in the games, and the key art reflects this change. When painting a metallic surface, remember that it doesn't just reflect light, it also reflects other surfaces. It's hard to simplify that with, Pokemon art in that style, but with enough patience and real-world studies, you'll be able to understand that little details can be added in order to convey a metallic surface. And of course, you can use existing Pokemon artwork to help get a better idea of how those artists handle this subject matter. I can say confidently that, while I still don't love this design, I'm very proud of the artwork I did. I think it looks really official, and I believe that if you already like Cobalion, you probably like this Paradox form too. Let me know if you agree. Iron Sentinel, the Paradox Pokemon. Described in a paranormal magazine as a machine built to protect humans, Iron Sentinel bears a striking resemblance to a legendary Pokemon from the Unova region. It charges energy using the engine on its chest, utilizing that energy to dash towards humans that need its help. It can also redirect the energy into solid blades, which it swings at foes with enough power to cleave a truck in two. Alright, now for the fun part. The past Paradox forms of Raikou and Entei. I had so many ideas for Entei that it actually took me 3 drafts to settle on a design that I was completely happy with. My first idea was to stay consistent with the bipedal, theropod-like look that Walking Wake used. Theropods, as far as dinosaurs go, are probably the most popular and most often associated with the concept of prehistoric Earth. We've talked before about how past Paradox Pokemon are sort of an abstraction of the prehistoric world, like how a child might describe a time lost to history. Walking Wake makes no sense biologically. Trying to connect an obviously canid-looking animal like Suicune and something resembling a mutant velociraptor is just, it's futile. But from a fun, childlike perspective of prehistory versus the modern age, one could understand instantly that what we're looking at is a distant ancestor of a present-day Pokemon, or at least that's what we might assume. However, using the exact same body template for Entei wasn't working quite as well. Entei has always been, to me, like the bulky old man of the trio. Grumpy, tough, if not perhaps a bit slow-moving and stiff. Suicune, on the other hand, has the most graceful physique of the legendary beasts. In its Paradox form, it looks equally as delicate, with thin, wispy shapes making up most of its body. I needed to find a prehistoric creature that better matched the characteristics that I associated with Entei. Something heavy and unmovable, even for dinosaurs. Something like a T-Rex just wouldn't cut it. Instead, I settled on a Ceratopsian design. Quadrupedal, bulky, and much more befitting of Entei's design, Ceratopsians like Triceratops or Styracosaurus gave me a much more compelling base to work off of. Not only did it fit Entei's personality better, it also distinguished this Paradox Pokemon and Walking Wake in a much more exciting way. I realized that what I love about the past Paradox Pokemon is just how much they change from their original forms. I didn't want to force myself to make each Paradox form of the legendary beasts all look like different models of the same car, I wanted them to feel like an eclectic collection of prehistoric imagery. The question then became, if Suicune's Paradox Pokemon is theropod-inspired and Entei's resembles a Ceratopsian, what will Raikou's design look like? Rumbling Roar, the Paradox Pokemon. Rumors of a massive creature roaming around Area 0 have been reported, with witnesses claiming it to be a legendary Pokemon from the Johto region. It's possible that these reports are referring to Rumbling Roar, a creature described in a paranormal magazine. Rumbling Roar is said to be incredibly elusive, but very dangerous. However, one witness claimed that the Pokemon came to their aid when they needed help. As much time as I spent with Rumbling Roar, Raikou's design hit me like a bolt of lightning. I had shaken off that feeling of obligation to make all of these forms theropods, and suddenly, all kinds of opportunities started opening up to me. The prehistoric world exists in many different forms in the minds of many different people, but there are a few iconic images that almost anyone could recognize as from a time when dinosaurs ruled the earth, Now, the paleontologist nerd in me wants to point out that pterosaurs, the flying reptiles that we're so used to seeing alongside artwork of dinosaurs, are not in fact flying dinosaurs. They're not dinosaurs at all, actually. But, we're not here for a science lesson. In fact, we've already established that science has nothing to do with it. It's all about that prehistoric aesthetic. And yeah, you might be wondering why I didn't play up the saber-toothed cat aspect if you wanted it to look more prehistoric. How the hell did I go from tiger to pterosaur? I don't know, it just fit in the weirdest but most perfect way. Raikou has so much cloud and thunder imagery built into its design that having a form that is actually capable of flight, I don't know, it just worked. It felt fitting that the Paradox version of each of the legendary beasts were all so different. People have been arguing for years if they're dogs or cats or whatever. Really, at the end of the day, They're Pokemon, right? Fantastic creatures that draw from the real world without having any direct real world equivalent. I think that's why I love past Paradox Pokemon so much. There's a clear connection to the real world, but only in so much as how we as humans see the real world on its most surface level. It mixes an adult's understanding of science, anatomy, and mythology with a child's appreciation for all of the above without caring about what's correct or incorrect. In short, it's just fun, and I had fun making it. Screeching Sky, the Paradox Pokemon. Residents living near the outskirts of Area Zero report an eerie sound emanating from somewhere within the clouds. Eyewitnesses describe a flying Pokemon bearing some resemblance to Raikou. Likely what they're seeing is Screeching Sky, a mysterious creature first documented in a little-known publication. If witnesses are to be believed, Screeching Sky swoops down out of thunderclouds like a bolt of lightning, striking down prey in the blink of an eye. I hope you enjoyed this very biased-based video of me ragging on designs I didn't like and gushing over the ones that I do. What did you guys think of my Paradox forms? Do they look convincing? Could you imagine the official versions of these concepts existing in the game? Or are they too off-base for Pokemon designs? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, everyone. Be sure to throw us a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you all in the next video.